Good morning, good afternoon, and konbanwa wherever you are in the world. I am the idol to give you the wings to fly, Cyber Angel, with Kamishiro of Lucid Multimedia at your service. How is everyone doing today? Welcome in, welcome. I see some folks are still on their way home from OffKai, so for those who are still in transit, I hope you have a wonderful, safe trip back home. How is everyone? How was your weekend? I had a great weekend. I not only got to attend OffKai virtually, but I also got to hang out with my sister this weekend. It was so fun. We played Splatoon Raiders, and she already beat the game. She beat the game on like the second day. She beat the game on the second day, and she was like, oh, check out my level. And she showed me, and she was like, oh, I'm level 50 plus 1. And I was like, 50 plus 1? You already passed, like, the maximum? I think that was by the time she had just finished, maybe around the time she just finished the main game, because she was started doing post-game and stuff. So that was really fun. Yeah. How was OffKai? It was so good. It was so amazing, and I'm so excited to talk to you all about it today. You all have any questions for those who weren't there? It was so fun. It was great. Just relaxing before you go back to work. Nice. Oh, I have so many fun things to tell you all about OffKai. So if you all have anything you want to know, let me know. Yeah. You're recovering from OffKai? Your legs hurt? Oh my goodness. Do you know how many steps you did? Gosh, I feel like conventions are always such a test of like strength, you know? Major test of strength, you know? Goodness gracious. Yeah. Very exciting stuff indeed. I had a lot of stuff this weekend that I got to be a part of, and I'll talk about all the different ways I was involved. Yeah. So speaking of all the things that I was involved in, I was part of a couple of like musical things, and then I also did a meet and greet, and I did a panel, and then I did a robot tour. I guess I'll go in order, more or less order. I can't remember the exact timing of some of the things because time zones and all that. But on the first day of OffKai, this is what I did. I was part of 2 concerts. I say part of with like a question mark because technically I was behind the scenes for one of them. A lot of folks were like, oh, why weren't you? Well, not a lot of folks, but a couple of folks were like, oh, why aren't you on the Prima project concert poster or things like that? Are you not part of the concert? I was, but not like in the singing. Well, technically I did for a little bit, but most of what I did for the Prima project, for those who don't know, I used to be in an agency called Prism Project. That was actually the agency that I was in for the first 3 or so years of my VTubing time. That's actually how I became a VTuber. I never done any content creation beforehand, and through Prism Project, I was able to become a VTuber and gain a lot of content creation skills. And so I really appreciate that time of my life, and I'm still very close to a lot of my coworkers. I guess we're friends, really. From that time, we call ourselves a Prima Project now, like prima donna girl. But yeah, so the planning for that was actually, in terms of like the planning stages, that had actually occurred last compared to everything else. So I had already agreed to do a panel, I'd already agreed to do a meet and greet, I'd already agreed to do a robot tour, and I'd already agreed to do the opening concert. I think honestly doing the opener for Densetsu EXE, I think that was probably the first thing that was sort of planned and decided. So that was like the first thing on my to-do list. So in considering, you know, when folks were like, oh, who wants to be a part of the concert? I was thinking about, you know, I'm gonna be very busy in the summer, and I don't wanna like sign up to do something because I wanna do it, but not have time to do it, you know? Yeah, hey, welcome in. I see some folks from OffKai hopping into the chat. Welcome in. We're just talking about sort of what I was up to. during the weekend. I did promise a panel debrief at some point today, so do get ready for that. I'm excited to talk about that. I really enjoyed doing that experience. So back to the concert, the Prima Project concert. When we were sort of figuring out who wanted to be a part of that, I figured I should be responsible about my sort of like bandwidth, the understanding of my bandwidth. And this is something that I try to tell VTubers maybe who like come to me and ask for advice. Now that I've been streaming for 5 years, right? Gosh, people come to me for advice. One of the biggest things I know that we like to do, and knowing myself, me being busy and I love to be part of a bunch of different things, but sometimes you just gotta say no to things, even if you really wanna say yes. I've seen a couple of VTubers burn out saying yes to a bunch of stuff or saying yes to things and not being able to, I guess, commit to that amount of work. And, you know, it's always a matter of, like, if things change, it's always good to communicate, you know, if something comes up that you don't expect. But for me, I was like, I already kind of know ahead of time that I'm going to be very busy. I'd already agreed to a bunch of other stuff. That, and I'd already done a concert with Prima Project before, and I know there were a couple of folks who were expressing their interest who hadn't done the concert at OffKai before, and I was like, you know, I think it'd be better to give other folks an opportunity, because I already have so many chances to be at OffKai this year. So, you know, rather than taking another split from a line split in a song, I figured it'd be fun to just, you know, if there's any help they need with vocal guides or harmonies, then I'm happy to do that, which I did get to do. I think Naki was so kind as to put me in as a little cameo because I had recorded some harmonies for their song and did vocal guides for their song. So yeah, it was really fun. You still feel exhausted after OffKai? Oh, I bet. I can barely imagine. I'm already like a little tired from like the few times I showed up virtually. I can't imagine, you know, how you all must feel. So rest up, okay? Yeah. Yeah, there was a Prima concert. Yeah, it was sort of like a throwback thing. That was the theme, throwback songs. Yeah. Ika will be uploading the concert on her channel this weekend. Well, there you go. Yeah, for those who missed it, you can check it out there. But I heard that went well. I've seen it. I've seen it, obviously, having been behind the scenes and stuff. I've seen it. I wish I could be there, you know, really experience the live music appreciation. I love live music, so yeah, even though technically the music isn't live because, you know, with how VTubers work, being there with everyone in the moment is always so fun when it comes to things like this. I wish I could be there. I've never been to OffKai in person, but I don't know, maybe that'll change one day. There was also this is something that I wasn't technically part of, but I was asked to have some of my music included in it, but the OffKai choir, asked if they could use a bit of my song Out of Air in their performance, and I had agreed to that, and I was excited to see the clips of the performance. It looked like everyone had fun. It looked like a really awesome time, so huge shout out to the OffKai for sure. Alex, thank you so much for celebrating your membership anniversary. Hope you had a fantastic OffKai weekend. Thank you, and I hope you did as well. I hope the rest of your time was fantastic. Yeah. Let's see, what else did I? So I was also part of the Densetsu EXE concert. That was really fun. I helped with the like tune timing for that one, and I think I helped with. I think I just helped with the tune timing on a couple of the songs. So that was really cool to do. I'm still very new to tune timing. I don't think I personally have like the bandwidth to learn how to like mix really well. It's a skill definitely I try to learn bit by bit, but you know, I already wear so many hats. Yeah, I don't need to wear the mixing mastering hat. But it was fun helping out with tune timing because that's something I can do. Yeah, I don't really do much because it's like a live performance, so I try not to do too much. It's really only for like the group portions, just in case, because we don't get to record together, you know. But yeah, that was really fun. And on Friday, I also had a meet and greet on Friday, and I got to see some of you all. That was so fun. It was just so wonderful getting to talk to you all about, like, not just things on the channel that you really enjoy and have really appreciated, but also, like, talking to you all about music. I had really cool talks with folks about music. I got to talk to people about Xenoblade and other games as well. I talked to some folks about Hoyoverse stuff. I got to see some of my peers in like the music and VTuber space. That was really cool too. And it was really cool because there was a lot of people from like different parts of my streaming time. So like some people were like, oh, I just recently followed you, or, you know, I had followed you since Prism, or I followed you since Snowa Talent, and it was really cool seeing that. Yeah, Xenoblade! I actually had quite a few fun Xenoblade-related interactions with folks. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I got to go to the Artist Alley during my robot tour, and I got to talk Xenoblade with people. But that's for later. I'll talk about it when I get there. But yeah, meet and greet was great. I thought it went really smoothly. This was on my part. I was a silly goober. I didn't realize it was only 30 minutes. I didn't put it anywhere on my schedule that it was going to be an hour. I just put on my schedule that it was going to start at a certain time. But for some, I guess it's because like when you put an event in your Google Calendar, it'll automatically default to 1 hour. And so when I had initially put it in my calendar, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I don't know how long it's gonna be, but I'll put it in for now as like a placeholder. And then I forgot to like ask. So I was like, oh my gosh, oh, it's only 30 minutes? So fast. And I really hope I get the opportunity to talk to you all more in the future. I think that's probably one of the best parts of conventions. I know, you know, in day-to-day, week-to-week, we all get to chat through chat, but there's just something so wonderful about talking to you all, like, one-on-one in person. Well, not in person, because technically I was calling in. But, like, being able to chat, you know, not just through a chat. But you all were so wonderful. You all are so amazing, and it was just so fun! Silly goober that I am, I just like talking to people. So, yeah! Yes, I would love to chat with lots more of you all. That'd be fantastic. Yeah. I actually met you for the first time at the panel. You found the Lucid booth in the hall, and they told me your panel was in 30 minutes, and said you should go. So I did. Yay! Well, we're going to talk about that in just a bit. I think that's actually the next thing on my mental to-do list. I don't have a slideshow today. For those who got to see me at OffKai this weekend for the panel, got to see slideshow me, right? Slideshow and bullet point me. But on a regular, I just talk freely and extemporaneously, of course, about this and that, about things that are on my mind. I'm just a girl on the internet with lots of thoughts running around in this head. So, yeah, today will be a lot more of a low-key, casual chat as we do. Did I get anyone to buy Xeno merch from that one stand? I did! How about this? I'll talk about Sunday, the robot tour, and then we'll end, because this is probably going to be a big section, talking about the panel. On Sunday, oh my gosh, let me see if I can get a picture. On Sunday, I got to do a robot tour. And basically what this is there's like there's a moving robot. It's like, I don't know how it works, but the moving robot has a TV on it, like a monitor. It has a speaker, and it has a microphone. And I guess also like an internet connection and like a PC. I don't know how it all works, but basically I can call in and I can it's basically a moving FaceTime. You know what I mean? It was so cool. And so I got to control my movements. Obviously for the parts maybe where we were moving through places that had bad connection, they would have to push me to the artist alley. They would, control my movements. For the most part, it was like a video game. It was so cool. I was telling the staff who was with me, I think there was 2 staff actually with me, and I was telling them, because at one point one of them was walking in front of me, and I was like, why does it feel like a third-person game? It feels like I'm off, over-the-shoulder camera. It feels like I'm, controlling my character walking through Artist Alley. And I was telling my staff, I was like, oh, somebody should make a con simulator game where you pretend to be in an artist alley. It's like you're given a certain budget and you have to like not spend that much, but then it's hard because you want to spend that much money. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was great meeting you. It was great meeting all of you. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. And I feel like the robot tour has really afforded a very unique way of getting to meet folks. I did meet more archangels on my trip around Artist Alley and into the chatting area, but I also got to meet a bunch of random people, and I love conventions because you just get to have a lot of fun, like random interactions with people, and everyone was just so lovely. So many fun. I think like a Ness, I was gonna say Ness cosplayer, but they were like, I don't know what you're talking about. I am Ness. So I was like, I have to commit to the bit. So somebody who looked like Ness and had the name tag, right? It said Ness, came up to me and was like, you just had a random encounter. And I thought that was so fun. I got to talk to some folks about Xenoblade. Yeah, because I stopped by Gigi's booth at OffKai. For those who don't know, she does a lot of like, mainly Xenoblade, but she also does like Splatoon, and I think I've seen her do trail stuff. I stopped by her booth. I think she was sick at that time, unfortunately. But I stopped by, took a picture, and then there was also some folks there who were thinking of grabbing stuff, and somebody who I just, you know, striked up a conversation. Is that the proper past tense? Strike up? Struck? Struck up? I got to start a random conversation with a couple of folks there. It was just so fun. It was just so fun. Like, this is the extrovert in me, as you can tell. I'm very extroverted. I was like, oh, what are you gonna buy? Or like, what did you buy? Can I see? Like, somebody got a Ricky plush. It was so cute. And I was like, oh, like, what are you thinking of buying? And, because I think we had talked about favorite characters. I was like, oh, what's your favorite character? And they were telling me about their favorite characters. And then I was like, oh, mine is Tyon. And they were like, oh, actually, no, I changed my mind. Mine is also Tyon. And I was like, yeah. And yeah, so they were like, I don't know what I want to get. Maybe I want to get a pin, but I don't know who I want to get a pin of. And I was like, well, I have the Tyon pin. So if you get the Tyon pin too, we could be like matching. And so they were like, oh, you know what? I'll do that. Thanks for helping me pick something out. And I was like, yeah, of course. So I thought that was really fun. And there was a couple of other folks there talking about like their favorite Xenoblade games. And yeah, it was really cool. You bought stuff from her booth? Yeah! Oh my gosh, I have a couple. I have quite a bit of her merch actually, so yeah. One day you'll be able to attend a meet and greet. I want to do more. If I would be so lucky as to have at least another opportunity to do a meet and greet. It really is such an honor to do those. It's the best feeling in the world, and it's probably one of the best things I get to do as a streamer. Truly, because you all are so fun and you all are so interesting. So, yeah. Yeah, VTubing yeah, the wonderful thing about the VTubing space is that so many different kinds of folks, so many different walks of life, so many different stories, and it's just so cool seeing everyone come together and like have fun. Yeah. It's just so great. It's so great. And I'm glad I got to do the robot tour as well because I got so much like FOMO from the weekend. I was like, oh man, you know, so much fun. But just doing the robot tour, I felt like, yeah, this is fun. I posted a picture on my Twitter, which I will grab right now to show some of the folks maybe who don't have Twitter who would like to see this picture. I have a couple of pictures actually. I'll share the booth pictures since we're talking about the robot tour first. La la la. Did I get any loot at OffKai? No, unfortunately I was not there, so I could not actually, or I was not physically there, so I could not get anything. Unless, you know, staff got me like freebies or fun stuff, and maybe they'll get that to me somehow. Here's a picture of me on my robot tour at the Lucid Multimedia booth. Isn't that so cute? Yeah, so it was really scary operating the robot at first because at first I was doing like the mouse movement because you can control the camera and your rotation with the mouse, but the mouse controls were really sensitive and I was afraid that I was gonna wobble too much and fall down. But then I switched to the keyboard controls and that went a lot better. Yeah, so I got to move myself. It was so crazy and I was worried that I was being too loud because you know me, I kind of just like say what I'm thinking out loud, you know? Yeah, I controlled it. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that so cool? Yeah, I don't. Should I keep this here? I'll just take it out. Boop. And that was my Sunday. Saturday, I got to do my panel, which I'm gonna get a picture of. I know you all have seen the thumbnail. Oh my gosh, I got a little emotional after my panel, to be honest. It really is such a wonderful thing, what I get to do, and I'm just so lucky that I get these opportunities to talk to you all and connect with you all. I feel like I learned so much from that weekend, and I've done quite a few panels now. I actually had done a different version of this panel at AWA, I believe, I think on the opposite side of the U.S., with a very different structure of the panel. It was very different, I think, the first time. I had the same intro story and the same sort of wrap up, but everything in the middle was different because I sort of took my learnings from that first panel, which is great. I'm glad that I get to do this multiple times, right? Because I get that opportunity to improve my panels and the content in them. And single-handedly one of the most amazing panel experiences I've had. You know, every single panel I've done had such amazing folks in it, listening in and participating. But something about like the topic that we talked about and being able to hear everyone's stories was just so wonderful. The first time I did this panel, which here, let me get a picture while I sit here and yap. The first time I did this panel, we did not have enough time. I misjudged how long it would take me to get through different sections, so I thought maybe that would be the case this time around, but I held on to hope that maybe, you know, I'd have time at the end to talk to you all. And I did. I actually had like 15 minutes even, at least 15 minutes to talk to you all, which was really nice. So, yeah. You were great. Oh, thank you. I didn't know what I was expecting, but my expectations were still blown away. I'm glad. I appreciate you using actual studies to help with your claims. Well, I have been having to do a lot of reading of like literature recently for school. So on top of my readings for school, I was like, you know, I am a lot, you know, better at being able to read research and literature, educational literature, than I used to be. Because I know that's also not a very like accessible thing either. A lot of times journals are restricted, whether that's financially or, you know, per institution. And so because I have that ability now, I wanted to be able to, even though it's still something I think I'm working on for sure, you know, I wanted to be able to use that resource that I have through school. Woo! I love library access. So yeah, it was really awesome. It was an interesting panel. I'm glad. I did record it, although I don't know how I want to distribute that. I think for now, I'm just gonna do like an unedited version on Patreon, but I'm thinking maybe I'll make an edited version just because there was a couple of like tech issues where like I couldn't hear you guys at some point for like a couple of minutes. So at some point in the recording, I was like, oh, well, I'm just gonna keep going. You know what I mean? So maybe I'll make a condensed version that's a little bit less yappy, maybe less, whatchamacallit, technical issues for like YouTube or something, so. Now we call you Professor Rita. Oh no, oh my gosh. I'm still learning. I'm a student, much like you all are, much like y'all are students in this lifelong journey of learning in life. Oh, I love tangents too, for sure. And Zara, thank you so much for the water check. I'm gonna do that. Yeah. Yeah. Hello, got to learn about you by doing the line control for this panel as a volunteer, but thank you so much for your hard work. Can I just take I'm gonna take a tangent here. All of the staff and volunteers that I got to talk to this weekend were absolute rock stars. Everyone is so like amazing and hardworking, and I think, you know, it really shows just how much, like, you know, we all love VTubing, we all love, you know, what OffKai means to us as community, and I can really see that through everyone's hard work. So I really appreciate that. Yeah. I'm glad you were able to catch some of the panel. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. On the topic of like research literature not being incredibly accessible for folks, whether again it's through actually physically accessing it, like being able to read it, or I guess access it to read it, but also being able to interpret the literature as well. One thing I talked about in my panel, because the panel is called, for those who don't know, the panel is called Level Up Your Life, Life Lessons from Our Favorite Video Games. And I started it off by talking about how stories are a medium with which we use to teach lessons. And this is something that's existed for a long time, for goodness, centuries, right? Throughout history, we tell stories to like warn people about things, or show people how things are done, or teach lessons. And we see that through books, stories, movies, music, and now with this medium, video games. And stories are a way to be able to talk about difficult topics, difficult concepts that, again, might require a certain level of scholarship or scholarly experience, or even just like difficult feelings, you know? And stories help us process these concepts in a way that's more digestible, essentially. So I talked a little bit about that. This is also a concept that is foundational to narrative therapy. And again, I'm not a licensed professional. This is something I've heard about, where the core of it is essentially being able to learn about your life story and being able to externalize your problems. Because a lot of the times people think like, oh, my story is the way it is because this is just how I am. And, you know, looking back at their history, looking back at previous chapters, it's hard to visualize and like future chapters being any different. But the core of it is, you know, being able to guide folks into realizing that they do have the power to rewrite their stories. And so this idea that stories teach us important things, important concepts is foundational to that as well. I thought that was interesting. So that was the first part of it. And then the sort of meat and potatoes of the video game example part was divided into two parts. First part being how video games change the way that we view ourselves. And the second part being video games changing the way we view others. And the first part, maybe you'll have to wait for the edited video to come out, but the first part I had a fun Fire Emblem example. But essentially like the idea I put behind that part was that a lot of the times we think of characteristics about ourselves or our personality as fixed, right? Like giving my example for me, you know, I used to think, oh, I'm such a people pleaser, I'm such an overthinker, I'm so critical, but that's just the way I am. That's how I used to think, right? That's just me, that's my personality, that's who I am. And a lot of the times we think that's not changeable, right? That's just like foundational to who we are and can't be changed. And I had actually read this amazing book and I haven't finished reading it. I only read a chapter or two. Then this is a book that I found with my research for this panel. Let me go to my Google Drive and get my notes. My very messy bullet point list of everything I wanted to say. The book is called... I'm still looking. It's called Video Games and Wellbeing, Press Start. Edited by Rachel Cower. And it was a specific chapter called Press Reset by an individual named Chelsea Hughes. And basically in this chapter, she talks about how personality is basically a pattern of learned behaviors, or most of what we consider like personality traits or personality characteristics can be unlearned just as they were learned. Because we all learn different ways of achieving our needs when we are growing up or when we're being socialized. And the example that I gave was like, for example, let's say somebody, when they were young, lacked attention or in that regard. And one way they had learned to get attention was by acting out, right? And so that's something about themselves that was learned. Maybe aggressive or overactive or something, what have you. But again, that was something that was learned. And again, can be unlearned. But it takes time. It takes time to unlearn that. And the chapter goes on talking about the ways that video games give us opportunities to practice having those decision points, which I thought was really interesting. Thinking of quests as opportunities to try a different behavior. The example that I gave was with Mass Effect. I thought that was fun. You have so many chances to think about what steps you would take to your goal or what you could do differently and how that affects or what consequences your actions have, if that makes sense. So it's almost like a training ground where you get to, again, do these repeated tasks or I guess quests and things like that. And again, you're immersing yourselves in various thoughts, questions, and then behaviors, and then seeing what consequences those behaviors have. And it's not just within the game itself, but also like maybe you're playing a multiplayer game and you're thinking to yourself, oh, well, this thing that I did when we were playing that game seemed to upset somebody. I thought we were just joking, but maybe like I misinterpreted that. And it gives you an opportunity to kind of assess the way that you, I guess, subconsciously respond to things or how you behave without even thinking, like your instincts. You know what I mean? Because one of the studies that's quoted in the book as well was talking about how a lot of the times the actions that we take in video games reflect what we would do in real life. Obviously, like, you know, maybe you're playing Undertale or what have you, and it's like, you know what, I want to play all the routes. I'm just a completionist. You know, deciding to do the genocide route doesn't make you a bad person. You know what I mean? But, like, if I'm doing a JRPG and I'm trying to figure out how to solve something, the way that I would think to solve it the first way is probably how I would solve a problem in real life. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a great training ground to sort of assess your instinctual behaviors, your personal characteristics. Yeah. So, yeah, it was really cool to see that. And the second part, well, we also talked about goals and how it's difficult to change the way that you think automatically, right? Because a lot of times people get so distracted, or not distracted, discouraged on their journeys of self-growth or change. Because sometimes it's like, sure, we'll see progress, but sometimes progress will plateau, sometimes we'll go backwards. You know, some days you go back to the way you were and it's like, oh my gosh, I thought I was doing so well. But the reality of it is you're actively trying to unlearn something that is like automatic to you. It's almost like muscle memory. And the example that I sort of like had talked about with my therapist one time was like, imagine you're an actor, right? And you have spent so long studying a specific script that you can go onto stage and act it out without even thinking about it, right? Well, obviously you have to put some thought into it, but it's more or less intuitive to you. You know where to stand, you know what to say at what times, you know how to react when this happens. And we're very much like that in life, right? We were taught how things were. I guess in growing up and in being socialized however way we were taught how to deal with things certain ways, or we learned the consequences of certain things, or we learned, oh, how if I want this, I have to do this. And if that's the script you've been learning for a while, if you need to learn a new one, let's say you're doing another show, it's gonna be hard. You're gonna have the instinct to maybe do the old script and things like that. And when you're learning this new script, it's gonna be hard. Like maybe you have to keep looking back at your paper and actively putting energy into that. But over time, and it takes a while, maybe a lot longer than what you would usually do with a script. It takes time, but over time it does change, you know? And yeah, I thought that was really cool to talk about because I think a lot of people maybe get really discouraged in that. But it takes a really, really long time to unlearn stuff like that. Yeah. So, I'm gonna go, sorry, whenever I tangent, sometimes I lose track of the chat. So thankfully you got to meet and talk to me at OffKai. Yeah, likewise! And welcome in. I see there's a couple of new folks out there. Welcome in, welcome. There are also some distractions on the journey, for sure. Yeah. The thing I really like about games is that they are truly a playground of thoughts. They let you experiment with ideas in a safe space, for sure. Absolutely, and actually I had learned about, there was a panel that I had seen about how there is an emerging form of therapy that, 'cause this was at Anime NYC. It was a panel that was Anime NYC, and they were doing like, because I think they had a series of like educational panels that they were actually offering for credit for a certain like certification board or what have you. I think it was specifically educational stuff because they were talking about, I forget the name of this specific emerging therapy, but it was essentially using like RPGs, like TTRPGs. And I think this individual had worked in a school setting. And so they were talking about their experiences working with school children and some of their needs in that regard. And how they were able to use TTRPGs as a safe like testing ground for folks to be able to practice group skills and social skills, and be able to learn sort of like the consequences of specific actions, or, you know, be able to get used to certain situations, yeah, in a safe way. I thought that was really cool. Yeah. So, I don't know why I mentioned that. Oh, because Pana mentioned, yeah. I think that's so cool. And I'd love to learn more about that. That individual seemed really passionate about their work and what they do. Yeah. You heard about that book? You think one of your professors recommended it in college? I really want to read the rest of it. I have been reading it digitally with my library access. Oh my god. It was fun seeing everyone's smiles. Yeah, oh, I bet that's probably one of the best parts of being a volunteer, huh? Yeah. I'm gonna water check before I talk about the second part of my panel. And I also opened up a Q&A form and discussion form, so I also want to go through that as well. Some folks had really great discussion points and talking points. I want to talk about those. And then if you all have anything to add too, I'd be happy to see what you all have to say. So the second half of the panel was about how video games change the way we see others. And of course, this is where I had to have my how do I make this about Xenoblade moment, and I talked about XE3. And I think on the slide specifically, let me actually bring it up. I think you can see it. I included it in my like post that I made online, because I was like, I want to see if there are other Xenoblade fans. I can be like, hey, look, I'm a Xenoblade fan. Yeah, so it says here, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and what it means to be human. This slide actually was one of the few slides in the middle of the panel that made it from the first version into the second version. I was like, I need to keep this. My content shifted a little bit from the first time I did this panel, but I still want to keep it. I need to find a way to include it. And yeah, basically I was talking about how, I think it was specifically the flute scene, but I didn't spoil too much of it, I think. But yeah, how it, you know, really focused on like what it means to be human, and that to be human is to be flawed. I'll just read this bullet point. It says to have different perspectives that inevitably lead to misunderstanding, and that having a relationship means overcoming misunderstanding and learning how to be better for one another. Yeah. So, all roads lead to Xenoblade. Exactly, that's me. So yeah, I wanted to have that as my little story icebreaker into the rest of the art, which actually had a lot more. I had a couple of studies that I had read when I was researching what I wanted to talk about, because I think an earlier version of this was also going to include more functional skills as well. How like games can also improve our sensory motor skills, our like spatial skills. But I was like, I think I'm gonna focus more on like psychological stuff rather than the more like physiological stuff. So I don't know why I brought that up as a tangent, but yeah, so, well, I guess because I read a lot of studies and I had to kind of figure out what I wanted to focus on. So these two I chose because it fit into this topic of how video games can change the way we view the world. And it boils down to being able to step into somebody's shoes and empathize with them. And the first study that I had read was called, which one did I do first? I remember at some point I changed up the order. I think I did this one. It was called a study called Reducing Mental Health Stigma Through Identification with Video Game Avatars with Mental Illness. And basically, the goal of the study was to examine how games or playing video games that feature characters who live with a mental health condition or mental illness would reduce stigma through two concepts called transportation and identification. And transportation is basically how well something can immerse you into that world. And identification basically refers to a process where somebody takes on a character's thoughts, perspective, goals, things like that, and they're able to kind of become one with the character. And in the study, they showed that video games, of course, increase the level of transportation for a consumer of media, as opposed to maybe other forms of media. And that heightened increase in transportation also led to a heightened increase in identification. And that increase in identification not only allowed the individuals in the experimental group who got to play. Oh, am I mixing up the... No, yes, I am. I'm mixing it up with the other study, so we'll go into that one in a second. But basically, yes, increased, heightened and increased are the same. Increased transportation led to increased identification, which led to individuals. Let me see what I wrote on here. Let me not try to do this from memory because ADHD is ADHDing for sure. La la la. Oh, this is not my slides. This is my other thing. You all can't see this, but I am talking to myself. So let's see. Da-da-da-da-da. Anyone else use Canva? Oh my gosh. Goodness gracious. Let's see. Level up your life. Here it is. I have to remember what order I did these things in, because at some point I had the, oh, nope, don't show that. Hello. Don't show my Canva. Well, I mean, it's just Canva. I don't think I had anything on here that has like mistakes on it. All of that is in my Google Doc. So, I know, I do everything visual on Canva for real. But, what was I gonna say? I forgot. Me when the ADHD is ADHDing. I'm not great at multitasking for that reason. Whatchamacallits. What was I gonna talk about? I was talking about Canva. Man, I've been using Canva for a while, huh? It's almost like, I just treat it like Google Slides. I just like put all of my stuff there and then just, I don't use like all of the features though. I literally just like treat it like Google Slides, but I can access all of my, assets a lot easier. Oh yes, I remember now. I remember now why I opened Canva. Because I wanted to see what I had written down on this slide. Yeah, so basically it said, Heightened identification seems to have led to a reduction in desire for social distance for mentally ill individuals. And one of the points that they talked about, because in studies, they usually have sections where they talk about some of their limitations and their questions for future studies. And one of the points that they had brought up was that video games can reduce stigma as long as the portrayal of the mental health condition that is portrayed in the game isn't stigmatizing. And I think that really highlights the importance of positive and accurate representation in media, for sure. I think the example that I give a lot of folks is, oh gosh, do you remember the movie, I think it was called Split? And that was detrimental to the DID community. And a lot of folks had a increased fear in folks with dissociative identity disorder. And it was really unfortunate to see that. So, I thought I'd bring that point up because it's important to have accurate representation of mental health in media as a way of reducing stigma. So, yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh yes, there was another study. I have another one. This one after. Oh yeah, so this one was, I have to go in between my my whatchamacallit, tabs here. Because one tab has all of the notes, and then the other tab is just the Canva with like the highlights. But the second study that I talked about was called The Path Out, Using Video Games to Reduce Prejudice Towards Refugees. And they talked about the Proteus effect. And basically, it's this phenomenon where somebody's behavior and their attitudes and their perspectives conform to the characteristics of their avatar. And in the study, they wanted to see how much the Proteus effect could affect an individual's prejudice towards a social outgroup. And in the study, the experimental group who played this game called A Path Out, who features a Syrian refugee named Abdullah Karam as the main character, they show that the experimental group who played as Abdullah were able to show less explicit prejudice towards this specific social outgroup, and also showed greater empathy toward that specific social outgroup. And I thought that was really fascinating. I thought that was really, really cool. And then I talked about how other ways that video games have helped me, think about uncomfortable feelings and talk about them, find ways to talk about them and open up to other folks, but also open up my eyes to experiences that I haven't had, and also be able to empathize with those feelings and experiences. So, yeah, I really enjoyed being able to share my thoughts with you all, and also hear about your thoughts, which I remember for the panel, a lot of folks would, during the Q&A section, would come up and talk about some games that were meaningful to them and what they learned. And I actually had a couple of questions from that I wanted to touch up on, and some questions and discussion points from the document. So if you didn't get the chance to submit something for the document, that's okay. We can always chat about it in chat. It's just harder for me to catch stuff in chat with it moving and all that. So yeah, I think a couple of games that folks shared were the Tales series, specifically Tales of Abyss. Somebody mentioned Cyberpunk, Disgaea, Kingdom Hearts, OffKai Impact the Third. I remember somebody told me about Final Fantasy XIV and how there's this moment, I don't want to spoil this for anyone, but there was a moment in it where it kind of like breaks the fourth wall almost, and it starts asking about you and how you feel about your life. I thought that was so cool. Somebody was talking about how like their experience playing Dark Souls 3 really taught them like, oh, I can become something. I can be great. I can learn how to do good things. I can learn how to do great things. That was really cool to hear. Something that someone brought up that I thought was really cool, because I definitely want to jump back into Persona 5, was how in Persona 5 they talk about how anger is an impetus for change. I think a lot of times we think of more negative emotions like anger or sadness or fear are bad things, and that you're bad for feeling them, and that we shouldn't feel them. But the thing is, those are just things that we feel, right? I don't think that's something you should be ashamed of. But what you can do is, channel those feelings into something positive, right? Whether it's, again, channeling feelings of anger into positive change for you or for the world around you, or for your community. I thought that was a great point. I also, an individual who I believe who was like a psychology student was also telling me about this concept of clean language. And I believe they mentioned that it was a psychotherapy method that you use to, or I guess the idea of it is that you create symbology, like metaphors and things, to be able to talk about the things that you're dealing with or that you're struggling with. And I think that's really cool. Again, it's this concept of being able to find ways to make things easier to understand or digest, whether it's for you or for other people. So I think it's really cool. I'm glad that games have become somewhat acceptable as a medium to experience growth in life. Yeah, because I think there's still a very significant group of people who believe that like video games cause people to be violent, and on that concept as well, that music does that, or that movies do that. But the reality is that like it's not the medium itself, it's what people are saying and how people interpret the things that people say, if that makes sense. Because I've played like shooting games before, sure, but I wouldn't consider myself an aggressive or violent person, It's like what kind of things are you thinking about? What kind of conversations are you having about the media that you consume? Are you able to distinguish when, something is real and something isn't? You know what I mean? Like, do you have a strong basis in reality, or do you not have a strong support system to keep you grounded in reality, if that makes sense? Hey, Amanda! Welcome. So, yeah. I hope that, because people will be like, oh, well, video games could be, could get you addicted, or they make you aggressive or whatever. But I don't think it's the medium of games that obviously there are some things about game design that can be made to be addictive, right? Gacha games, gambling, what have you. But these are concepts that can be applied to a lot of things and not just gaming. And, a lot of, I think I see like people saying like, oh, well, it's like the iPads that are like ruining the, people's brains. But it's also like, are you also helping, regulate the amount of like time you spend in front of a screen? Are you regulating, the feelings and the thoughts that you have when you're using, I don't know, digital media and interacting with digital media? You know what I mean? Like everything, I think, requires a level of like, I don't know, care, if that I'm rambling now, but it's not like the medium of video games that does it. It's how we interact with mediums, or how we, I don't know. Does that make sense? I hate that saying anything could be viewed as it causes violence. It just depends on how you can view the media. Exactly. And there's such a wide variety of things in media to find something you could appreciate. Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But that's not to say that media has power to influence people. It absolutely does. Because on the flip side of this conversation, the flip side of the conversation of, video games aren't the things that cause violence, right? It's a whole network of things, including like your support system, how you were socialized to view the world and your place in that world, and things like that. But on the flip side, a lot of times, like, people think, oh, it's not that deep. You know what I mean? Like, oh, people don't really put a lot of thought into the things that they put out on the internet. For example, like sometimes when we're in like a heightened emotional state, a lot of the times we'll go and vent on social media, or we'll share a lot of that, like, or I don't know, we'll put stuff out there not realizing how much power our words have. And this is something that I, try to think about relatively frequently, because me as well, it says chat disconnected, successfully connected. Oh, it's connected for me. I don't know why it said that. That's weird. But yeah, words have power. A lot of the times people will be like, oh, it's not that deep. Or like, oh, like, I'm just messing around or what have you. But it's like, no, it is that deep. But you know what I mean? We convey messages, we convey stories, we convey lessons with the things that we say and how we interact with others. And I wish people took more care with that, and understand that the things that they create have ripple effects on the world around us. And we talked about the importance of positive and accurate representation of mental health conditions. That has a very real effect on how people view individuals with mental health conditions. Like, it's like, you have to find a healthy medium, right? Like, you can't blame video games for all the bad things, right? But also you have to understand that things like video games have power to sway and influence people, There was a massive meta-analysis over the course of 24 different studies with ages 9 to 19 years about video games and increased aggression. I thought you might be interested in reading that. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. It's not that deep, they say, as they look at the iceberg that say the Titanic. Oh my goodness. Wow, that's a lot of folks. Yeah. Yeah, they definitely have impact. For sure. For sure. But it's like they're not solely to blame. For things. If it's almost like it's a whole network of things. It's almost as if we're a product of all the things that we interact with in our lives, And I think it just goes back to this idea that we are not only shaped by the world around us, but we also in turn shape that world. So, yeah, something to think about. No pressure. No. I mean, just as a sort of real talk, I guess, as somebody with a platform, I often try to think about the weight that my words have on people, because while I do think, I am just like another girl on the internet. I don't think my opinions are any more valuable than any other person's, I'm just like a person and like anybody else, but I do recognize that I have the ability to like have my words reach a lot of people. And I really try to carry that with a lot of respect and a lot of, care, I guess. Yeah, for sure. Because again, I'm not gonna know everything. I'm not gonna say everything perfectly right all the time. And I try not to, hold myself up to like a pedestal to be like a robot and get everything 100% correct, because I'm a human just like anyone else. But I know that, again, my words have a lot of weight and impact. And so I try to be careful, and I try to do and say things with the best knowledge that I have. And that's gonna change a lot. I learn not just from, things that I learn in school or what have you, but I also learn from you all. I learn from my peers. I learn from the space that I work in, the industry, if you will, of VTubing. So yeah. Yeah, I think for a lot of people, just having a physical thing or one entity to blame is a lot easier than being able to, again, really dive into the more difficult questions and the difficult reasons as to what might have caused certain things. I feel like it's so much easier to blame one thing than to open up a can of worms and see just how systemic some things are. But it's only when we're able to do that work that we're able to change things. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go ahead and go on to the points and stuff that folks brought up in the questions document. And let's take a look here. Let's take a look here. This should be the form. me narrating my actions in another window. Let's see. Oh, let me water check too, 'cause I'm yapping. I will say this though, quick little fun tangent, because I know it is getting a little serious. Look at me, serious Rita. Somebody had asked, real life mechanics in games, because somebody gave the example of how they recently went through a career change and they viewed that as an NG+. And I thought that was so fun. I loved that. Where you are starting a new journey, but you still have a foundation of transferable skills to go off of. And I think a lot of people maybe who are going through similar things might feel oh gosh, I feel like I'm starting over. I'm so behind. But just think about it as a new game plus, Welcome in! Thank you so much for the raid! Welcome! I'll go ahead and also take a second for folks to get settled before we continue on, and I give you all mine. My sort of interpretation of that. Welcome in! Welcome! I'll take a couple of seconds for everyone to get here, and then I can introduce myself. Well, first of all, how was stream? What were you all up to? Yeah. And for those who are new here, I'm the idol to give you the wings to fly, Cyber Angel, Rita Kamishiro of Lucid Multimedia at your service. Sorry, my camera had a little technical difficulty there. Make sure that doesn't happen too. But yeah, we're talking about OffKai today. Any raiders went to OffKai? You want to show raise of hands? But yeah, I was there virtually as a guest, and where I'm just talking about my experience. We already talked about my meet and greet stuff. We talked about my robot tour, and now we're just debriefing the panel that I got to do on Saturday. It was called Level Up Your Life. Life lessons from our favorite video games. And so I've already kind of talked about the main body of the panel. And now we're kind of talking about some of the questions and discussion points that folks had at the end that I thought were really helpful. It's your first time watching? Well, welcome! You played some Unicorn Overlord? Whoa, I'm not familiar. But welcome in, welcome. We're just chatting. We're just chatting about OffKai and my panel, so if you want to stick around, by all means, you can jump in, ask questions about me or the panel or the topic at hand. But if you're heading out for the day, I hope you have a wonderful rest and a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you! It was really my pleasure to be able to do this panel and talk to you all about it. Yeah. We were talking about how one of the attendees who showed up at the panel asked me if I had any, first of all, I guess, any mechanics in video games I wish were real. And my answer to that is I wish that we had backlogs in real life. You know how in story-based games you'll be talking to somebody, and if you forgot what they said or what have you, you can go back and view the whole log of dialogue. I wish we had that in real life. Sometimes the ADHD does ADHD, and I wish I had that in real life. You wish we had stats in real life? Oh, real. Oh, fast travel would be so good. I need to share with you all, for the raiders who just came in, what the attendees shared with me, how they thought of their career change, because this attendee had recently begun a career change, and they thought of it as a new game plus, right? Because it's like you're starting a new journey, but you still have a lot of really fantastic transferable skills, and a lot of the times when we start a new chapter, sometimes we're discouraged and we feel like, oh, I'm so behind, like I'm starting over, everyone's so far along, whatever, what have you. But thinking about it as a new game plus, like, really highlights the fact that you did have a lot of useful experiences and fulfilling experiences, and they will transfer over into your new journey in various ways, And it was really nice. But then they also asked me if there's any certain game mechanics I've applied to real life to sort of help me, I guess, gamify life. And that's actually something I wanted to talk about, especially as an ADHDer. Being able to gamify things to create a sense of motivation is really fun too. In terms of working out, I would. This is kind of a silly admission, but back when I was seriously training for a 10K, which I still haven't done. I've done a 5K a few times now, but I want to do a 10K this year. I need to get back to my practice. But when I was really, I guess I was also practicing for my charity event too. Or I guess building up my stamina for that. I pretended that I was Link or Zelda or what have you. And I would think about every workout. I had a little piece of paper. And I would log each workout as I can get another piece of heart, and at the end of the week I can get a new heart container, and just the mindset that I had, I would kind of just be oh yeah, I'm a really cool scholarly warrior princess who is smart and strong, and that's just the mindset that I would take into doing these workouts and things like that, and it really helped me motivate myself. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, Doug. We didn't even talk about the more cognitive and functional skills that you learn from video games, because we focused, at least on my panel, we talked more about the psychological benefits of video games and how video games can change the way that we view ourselves and also change the way that we view others, and increase our sense of identification and our desire to connect with people who maybe are not, who are part of a social outgroup or have different experiences than us. And I thought that was really cool. If you want to learn more about that, you should definitely check out the VOD for this stream. I talked about a couple of studies and a couple of books that were really helpful in my research, so definitely check those out. And I'm hoping to maybe get an edited version of the panel out. I have a raw recording, but there were technical issues, and I also forgot to record the intro part, so I'll probably release the raw on for Patreon, so you can see the raw recordings there, but maybe I'll make an edited version of that. But yeah, the individual asked me if I had anything like that, where, NG Plus is, a new life chapter is starting a new NG Plus. I think I wrote something down because somebody was I told them that I'd think on it because we ran out of time. I wrote it down somewhere. I put text backlog, yeah. In-game skills translated for use in real life. I mean, I kind of gave a couple in my panel. I'm trying to think of more. In-game skills. I have to pick just one? I don't know if this is a skill per se, but it's a mindset that I developed thanks to Mass Effect, a game where notoriously your choices have a lot of weight and significance to the story. And you probably have your own favorite, butterfly effect, your choices matter story, right? But in Mass Effect, I would often be paralyzed at certain decision points. And I would be so worried, like, oh my gosh, what if I make the wrong choice? What if, like, this colony dies because I'm not good enough at this game or what have you? Like, what's gonna happen? And I feel like a lot of that thinking is also reflective of how sometimes I think in real life. You know, like, oh, this bad thing happened because I wasn't good enough at something or because I didn't make the right choice or something like that. And a lot of times that fear can really like keep us from trying new things or, you know, challenging ourselves to grow. And through playing Mass Effect, I was able to sort of like remind myself or really teach myself, like, at least I'm showing up, first of all. Like some people don't even show up to make that choice or be the one to have that difficult decision, right? At least I'm showing up and I'm wanting to do something. Obviously in a game, it's like you don't have to play the game, but in my life, it's like, hey, at least I'm showing up to make that change in my life. At least I'm showing up to do hard work for other people, you know? And in playing Mass Effect, I kind of reminded myself, like, I'm not gonna have all the pieces of information I'm gonna know. Right? Obviously, I want to go into this with as much best practice as I can, as well informed as I can, with as much skill as I have now. But, you know, I'm gonna do the best that I have with what I got. But I can't expect myself to know something that I don't have access to or don't know yet. And I'm not gonna get upset with myself for not having good enough skills. You know what I mean? Because I can't do anything about that. I'm gonna do the best that I can in the moment, but maybe I'm not good enough at like my fine motor skills to defeat the boss then. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was like a really big part of it. And just being really confident with my decisions and being able to definitively be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do the best that I have with information that I have in the moment. And I'm gonna deal with the consequences later. And I have the capability to do that. You know what I mean? And not worry about what if it doesn't work out, what if it doesn't? You know what I mean? There's no like in moment use to that, right? Other than, you know, making me more nervous or unable to do something, right? So Mass Effect really taught me how to be more confident in my decisions. Obviously, in games, I'll still have fun and be silly and like, oh my gosh, you know, we'll talk about like, what'll happen and we'll theorize and things like that. That's fun. That's its own little thing. But yeah, it really helped me practice. And again, we talked about this in the panel, how games are a training ground for you to be able to practice, you know, new decisions and build new patterns of behavior. To change these characteristics about yourself, which are also learned behaviors. So I thought that was really cool that like with Mass Effect, it's like, I used to be such an overthinker. And in some ways I still a little bit am, but maybe not so much anymore. But again, it's something that I was able to unlearn, being an overthinker, you know? Oh my gosh, another raid! Well, welcome in! Welcome! Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to talk more about that, especially for folks who are just coming in. Welcome in, Raiders! Welcome in, welcome! What were you all up to? And for those who are new here, as you all start to get into the waiting room, chat room, the stream, oh, you're playing GTA! Nice! Flipping cars! Oh my gosh. I'm the kind of person who plays GTA, like, with, like, real-life road rules. But thank you so much for the raid. I hope you all had fun. Today we're talking about OffKai, my experience as a virtual guest. We talked about my meet and greet and my robot tour, and now we're debriefing the panel that I got to do on Saturday called Level Up Your Life. Life lessons from our favorite video games. And I will be releasing a full raw recording of the panel for my Patreon, but it'll probably be a while until I have an edited version that doesn't include the technical stuff and, actually includes the intro that I forgot to press record for. So, and also if you want to check out the VOD, we dive into some of the main points of the panel as well. But right now we're talking about some concepts that were brought up by the attendees during the Q&A and discussion section. I hope OffKai was so much fun. It was! Thank you! I hope you had fun playing GTA today. Thanks for the raid. Yeah. Yeah, you like my new model, my hair, and my outfit? Yeah, so we were just talking about how, for me, one of my examples was how Mass Effect changed my sort of pattern of thinking and behavior. To kind of rehash a point real quickly for the raiders, in one of the books I had read in preparation for my panel, it's called, and again, highly recommend it. It was really good. I haven't finished it, but the chapters that I did read were fantastic. It's called, looking for Video Games and Well-Being. Press Start. And a chapter in that book talked about how a lot of the times we think of characteristics about ourselves as fixed. And again, the examples I gave were, I used to be such an overthinker and a people pleaser and so self-critical. And for the longest time, it's like I always thought that was just personality traits. Like, that's just who I am, And a lot of us don't realize that our personality and what we consider our characteristics of ourselves, a lot of that is changeable. Like how we gained those characteristics through patterns of behavior. We can unlearn them as well. And friendly reminder, I'm not a licensed professional. I'm just a girl on the internet who likes to read. So take that with a grain of salt. I highly recommend if you're interested in these books, check them out yourselves, do your own reading. I also quoted some studies as well earlier if you want to check those out for yourselves. What was I gonna say? When the ADHD is ADHDing. Yeah, the idea that personality is just a pattern of behaviors. We grow up learning how to do things certain ways. Maybe somebody grew up not having a lot of attention and they learned how to act out as a way to get attention. And, some people might think, that's just how I am. My personality is that I act out and that I want attention all the time. But again, just like how we learned a lot of those characteristics and traits, we can unlearn them too. And the chapter outlines how video games are a great testing ground to be able to have new patterns of behavior emerge. Because video games have so many decision points where you can practice new thinking patterns and behavior patterns. Which I think was really cool in the example that I gave with Mass Effect, where I got to learn how to to overthink less, be more confident in my decisions, and be a lot less self-critical in the decisions that I make. And I think that was really cool. I feel like I came out of playing Mass Effect a lot more confident and a lot less scared of, what if the worst thing happens? What if I'm not prepared to make this choice? What if I don't have what it takes? You know what I mean? Being able to confidently make a choice and say, hey, this is everything that I know in the moment. This is my best knowledge, doing my best practices, and, I'm not gonna know what the future holds. And there's a lot of information that I'm not privy to. So I can't, be so self-critical at the choices that I make with what I have. You know what I mean? So it was really cool. Like being confident enough to make a decision and say, you know what, whatever happens, I know that I have the capability to handle it, whatever outcome it is. Because the example that I gave was like sometimes like in Mass Effect, you'll have a choice to do and you won't know if, like for example, one of the choices was like, there was a guy who had done a lot of bad things. He was like a criminal or something, and you had the choice to either kill him on the spot or show mercy and let him go. And me, just sort of how I am, like just, my way of thinking, I was like, okay, well, I want to I'd feel bad. It's just like I'd feel bad being the one to like pull the trigger. Like, let's just take him in, you know, to the officers or whatever. Let them handle it or what have you. And it turned out that, you know, waiting to have the, you know, the proper authorities take him away led to an entire, like, ship being annihilated or something. And I was like, what? How was I supposed to know? And the thing about games, it's like there's so many factors that you're not aware of. And it's like in the moment I did, you know, I made the choice that I thought I put a lot of thought into, and I did with what I had in the moment. Because how was I supposed to know? You know what I mean? And also, the game could have been designed as such, you know, where it's the opposite happens, right? Where taking it's called the renegade action, I think would have been to get rid of the criminal in the spot. Taking the renegade action might have caused a totally different negative outcome. And it's like, you never know, right? Like, do the best with what you got in the moment and have confidence that you can, I don't know, deal with the consequences of your actions, if that makes sense. Oh my gosh. And another thing that I really enjoyed reading about as well in that book is how a lot of these quests, like, you know, side quests and things that lead up to even like the main quests. Because a lot of the times we're like, fetch quest, I have to do another one of these? Why is this important? But we often don't think about the small tasks and quests we do in our own lives. But they really build a sense of this concept called self-efficacy, the idea that, not the idea that like we are capable right now, but that we have the capability to change or to be better, you know, rather than thinking like, oh, I can do this thing. I have this skill, but the idea that I don't have this skill, but I know I can learn it and I know I can change. And games are also a great way of, you know, supporting that idea. That you can do things, that you can change. I think I had mentioned this. This is kind of going back and forth throughout the panel, but another concept I thought was really fun. This idea that stories are ways that we learn about difficult concepts, and how storytelling as a medium has been used for a long time to teach lessons, to teach things, right? Whether that's like, you know, oral folk tradition, passing down stories, right? Like to warn people about things or teach certain behaviors or what have you. Games kind of reflect like how a lot of the times it requires a lot of small things to see a big change. And in real life, sometimes, you know, when we're in the thick of it and we're in the middle of the grind, sometimes we can feel so discouraged, like, oh, it feels like I'm not making any progress, or I'm just stuck doing all these small little changes. But all those small little changes really add up. And like, you know, I was giving the example of how, like, you know, you writing essays and doing all your homework assignments and going to class or what have you, or to get your degree is a lot like gaining EXP to level up or to beat a boss. And it seems kind of silly to compare it that way, but yeah, all these small, seemingly mundane things you do are all building up towards this sense of self-efficacy, that I can do it, you know? I think a game that pauses you to make a decision might also be helpful for people with ADHD. Real! Yes! Yeah. No, that's definitely something that I try to work on too, like being able to stop. Again, we talked about Mass Effect and how it helped stop me from being an overthinker. Being able to stop and assess when you're having a moment where you're like, oh, thinking about this or that, what could happen? Being able to stop and be mindful and make a decision and move on. Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna bring up some other questions and stuff that folks had in the forum, but if anyone else has anything they want to share in the chat, how have video games been impactful for you? How have they changed your life? Again, I think one of the best parts of the panel was being able to hear from you all and your thoughts about games. I'm gonna water check. Me when I'm a yapper. Okay, let me go to my OffKai debrief notes. Let's see. Oh, I asked you all what are some lessons that you learned from video games. Someone said, never give up, no matter what blocks my path, for sure. Another individual said, they've learned how to be decisive and understand a need to learn how to handle difficult decisions. Oh, same with Mass Effect. What is my favorite video game? Tough question, but you already know what the answer is gonna be if you've been here for a while now. Xenoblade, the Xenoblade franchise. Xenoblade Chronicles, specifically Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but I love all of the Xenoblade games. And I'm playing Xenogears right now. But I think my favorite game series right now is Xenoblade. Zelda as well is also a really important series to me too. A lot of game series are really, but I think what takes up most of my mind space, the real estate in my brain is Xenoblade. So, yeah. Another lesson that somebody learned from video games was doing the right thing can be rewarding, even if the effects are not immediate or you don't benefit directly. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mentioned earlier about there was a panel that I had heard about at Anime NYC. I think that was the convention, because they had a track of panels that was specifically for educators, which I think is really cool that conventions do that. And this panel was by somebody who works in a school setting, and they were talking about an emerging therapy where therapists would utilize TTRPGs in their therapeutic practice. And I thought that was really cool. And again, it sort of embodies those concepts from the topic of narrative therapy that I had brought up. Oh, and also, a friendly reminder, I don't know if I said this for the Raiders, I am not a licensed professional. I am just a girl on the internet. A girl on the internet with a lot of thoughts and who also likes to read a lot and play a lot of video games. So, yeah, please take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, I'm just here to share my thoughts. I brought up a couple of readings and studies that I'd read, and if you catch any of them in the VOD or as I say them, by all means, please check them out. Learn about their methods and the limitations and some other points of discussion they bring up. They're really fascinating. But I might just be saying that because I like reading. I don't know. I think academic literature is really cool. But anyway, back to that panel that I had heard about. But yeah, basically TTRPG is as a training ground for individuals to practice social skills, practice group skills, interactional skills, being able to mesh ideas with one another, collaborate, compromise, being able to understand others' feelings and motivations, and being able to express their own feelings and motivations and desires in a way that is understandable to a group. I think that's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Where was I? Where's my bullet points that I wrote down from people's submissions to the document? Somebody says that they don't play video games themselves, but their adult children have played since they were children and have taught this individual so much about being more open-minded and seeing the world through their eyes and through the stories of their games. Yeah, for sure. And again, that was a topic that we got to talk about in my panel about how video games really give you the opportunity to step into someone's shoes, and being able to do that, again, with a representation that is positive and accurate can really increase a sense of empathy with an individual whose experiences you're not familiar with. Yeah, and also increase a desire to connect with individuals who might be living with a mental health condition or might be part of a social outgroup. Somebody says, Outer Wilds has helped me come to terms with impermanence. This individual says that they have struggled with thanatophobia, and I think this is a fear of death. Yeah, fear of death or dying since middle school, and now that game pops into their head when I get those thoughts. I actually haven't played Outer Wilds. I've been recommended it though, but anyone out there you submitted this one? Do you want to talk about Outer Wilds? I'd love to learn more about it. I've been recommended it a couple of times. Yeah. What anime am I currently watching? I'm currently rewatching Frieren with my friends because they haven't seen Frieren before. Before that, the new Hiromu Arakawa anime adaptation, Shadows of the Demon Realm, I believe, is what it's called. And then I also finished Go For It Nakamura with my friends as well. Gosh. That one threw me for a loop. It's so silly goofy for like 90% of it, and at the very end, it's just an emotional roller coaster. Me and my friends were crying. Oh my gosh. But happy ending, happy ending. Oh my gosh. It's no secret that you're mostly a kinetic gamer, so you love improving the gameplay of games you enjoy and determining how you can play more efficiently. Oh, for sure. And again, I think it's that idea of like how games can increase your sense of self-efficacy too. I've played a lot of games where I was like, oh gosh, I'm not really like, I'm very clumsy. My motor skills could be better or what have you. But I've played like a lot of like shoot 'em ups and things like that, or bullet hell games, and I've really improved in those. I'm not the best, but to be able to see myself improve in that regard, it just reinforces like, wow, I can change. I can, get better at something. Self-efficacy, yeah. Your Zenless streams say otherwise. That's also why I don't play Zenless anymore. Just kidding. I don't play Zenless anymore because I only have a certain number of hours per day to play games. And I already have a huge backlog of games. So, I do miss it though. It was fun to play. Yeah. But your personalities are very evident in games like League. Did I ever tell you, I've played League only once. I played League once with Luto, and she was like, I've never seen anyone play League of Legends like this. And I was like, I'm sorry, I tend to express whimsy very easily. I sooner express sadness than I do anger and frustration. And again, that doesn't make me like better than anyone or what have you. A lot of times we prescribe morality to having certain emotions. Bringing up this topic again with Persona 5 that an individual had brought up, but it's not bad to have more negative feelings, like feeling sadness or feeling anger or feeling fear, right? It's what matters is what you choose to do with those feelings, right? What mindset do you have surrounding them? Are you able to channel those feelings into something positive or productive? We brought up the example of Persona 5 and the idea of using anger as an impetus for change, not just for yourself and becoming a better version of yourself, but also for the world, right? Maybe you feel an anger towards how things are and how things could be, and being able to channel that anger into advocacy or tangible change in your community rather than just, I don't know, tweeting about it, right? Angrily yelling at people and tweeting about it. That's certainly like one way to transform feelings, right? And I don't think having fear or having anger or having sadness makes you bad. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. Because I'll tell people, but yeah, I feel like I feel sadness a lot easier than I feel anger. And people are like, wow, you're so good. But it's like, I don't necessarily, okay, just because I feel happiness very strongly, I feel a lot of emotions very strongly. And I've been, a lot of times people feel bad as well, that they don't feel emotions very strongly. But that's just not the case. We all feel emotions differently. Yeah. I, for one, feel emotions very strongly. A lot of my good friends who are very wonderful people and do great things don't feel emotions very strongly, or have a difficult time developing certain emotions or things like that, but that doesn't make them bad people. They, put a lot of effort and work into being able to connect with people and learn about their experiences and perspectives and their feelings. And even if they don't feel it as strongly as I do, they still care, and that they still showcase that through the things that they do or say. So, yeah. Because I've seen a lot of people say, like, oh, well, I can't cry when I see something sad. There must be something wrong with me. You know what I mean? And it's one case. It's a totally other thing where it's like maybe you feel maybe there's a certain pressure or expectation to show your feelings or not show your feelings in a certain way. And that's something else you could definitely work on. But, how you naturally feel things is going to be different from someone else. And I don't think that's something to be ashamed of, Yeah. I think I've told you all this. There was a great video that I've brought this up a couple of times now, so I apologize if I sound like a broken record. And Shiny, I think you probably know what I'm talking about because you've queued this up in chat for me before. In this video, a clinical psychologist discusses sociopathy because she herself is a sociopath, and she talks about, well, first of all, the stigma that we have towards individuals who experience sociopathy. But also, like, how we can understand what that experience is like, and that people who are sociopaths can still develop pro-social behaviors and still be great friends and great coworkers. I thought it was a great. And in the video, she actually talks about how. She talks about Wednesday Addams as sort of an example she gives to her children or to her clients or to people that she just talks to on a day-to-day about her experiences and how it helps people like understand not only her perspectives and how she might think, but also being able to see her as someone who is who can be a good friend or can be a good coworker. And again, like, reduces that stigma. And I think video games can also have the power to do that. Again, as long as the portrayal is accurate and positive. Yeah. If you're gonna bring it up, we might as well do a watch along. I think there might be a couple of things in that video that are particularly triggering. So I would say maybe check out the video on your. Let me go ahead and search it up, actually. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember the name of it. Oh, it's called How Sociopaths Actually Work. And that totally changed my perspective and opened up my mind about concepts of sociopathy. Yeah. Thank you for the link. So yeah, I think there was a couple of things in there that might have been. So yeah, just watch it in your own discretion. But yeah, I thought that was really eye-opening for me. Yeah. Water check. How are you all? How is everyone doing? I know Shiny's so good at bringing up the links, For sure. For some reason, you never cry the first time while viewing media, only on subsequent times if it really touches me. I think you need more time to process or something. Oh, for sure. For sure. And again, like, everyone processes things differently, so don't feel ashamed about that, Yeah. And what you should, care about is, again, like, what you do have control over, like the mindset that you have about the things that you do feel and the actions that you take in the world around you. Yeah. You're doing great. Nice. First time here. Well, welcome. Any other folks who are here for the first time? Welcome in. Okay, I'm getting kind of hungry, so I want to eat dinner, but I want to get through some more of the points that folks shared. topics that people are interested in learning more about. How can someone better handle self-loathing? So this is for me as someone who used to be very self-critical. So again, friendly reminder: everyone's different. Okay, right? What works for me might not work for you, and that's totally okay. If you feel like this is something you want to work on, a licensed professional could probably work with you to find the best way that works for you. But if you just want my thoughts on what worked for me and sort of talk about my experiences, I'd be more than happy to. Mindfulness. It's so hard, especially if you're like me, ADHD or 2000, right? Being able to stop, realize how you're feeling, and then move on from there, right? Like, stop whatever overthinking, self-critical talk is happening in your head and being able to move on from that. It's sort of like the cognitive part of cognitive behavioral therapy. So this is something that I've gotten to experience myself. Again, as an ADHDer, I've gotten to learn lots of ways of how I can really get a handle on how my brain works, Because again, it's not something I should be ashamed of, right? That's just, sure, my brain is a little different than some folks, but that's okay. I just gotta learn. I gotta learn a different method than maybe folks have learned in their life. And again, that's not something to be ashamed about. But I got to do what is called cognitive behavioral therapy. And again, this might not work for you. For some people, talk therapy isn't really their cup of tea. Maybe you're more of like a group therapy or what have you. Again, if this is something you want to explore, I highly recommend talking to like a licensed professional about what's best for you and trying out different things. But basically, from my experience of CBT, is that it basically teaches you to recognize your thinking, the cognitive part, like how you think and how you feel, and how that connects to your behavior. And I can give you all an example, a personal example, and sort of the exercises that I got to do, the homework that I got to do to change that. It's really cool. It's such a powerful tool. And again, it'll work for some, maybe it won't work for others, and that's okay. I just love to share my experience. Maybe it'll encourage folks to check it out as well. But yeah, basically it's like what you think about in a situation and how that shapes how you feel, and then what you do. Because it basically talks about the connection between your thoughts, your mind, the cognitive, and how you behave and how that manifests in your life. I actually have my journal with me, oh my gosh. Well, this is my everything journal. So I like plan my day in this journal. Like I do my like weekly like planning, like this is what I need to do. This is everything that's due. This is what the homework I need to finish this week, or edits that I have to do. But this is also where I journal. And journaling doesn't have to be fancy. For me lately, it's been like one sentence at the end of every day of like, what did I do today? Or what did I really like from today? Or something like that. For me, it's not very rigid. I'm very not structured with how I journal. But let me find it, because I actually did write it down. Because I am a overthinker. Yeah, my mind, she's kind of just like running 100% all the time. It's the ADHD to be ADHDing sometimes. And that causes a lot of problems especially when I come up across like a bad situation, or like something bad happens or what have you. Like maybe I make a mistake in a performance for school or something, or I got a bad grade or something, or I had a bad interaction with someone. And, the part of me who, if I'm doing something fun or thinking about something fun, I get to generate a million ideas because my brain is constantly going. In situations that are more difficult, that tends to go in the other direction. And then I think of, oh, what do they think about me? Or, oh no, they probably think I'm not good at this. Or, oh, maybe I'm not so good at this as I thought. And is my stream dipping? I think it might be the YouTube side. I apologize. I'm not getting any drop frames on my end. So, Might be like one of those regional YouTube things, so I apologize if that's something you're experiencing. That is unfortunately not within my capabilities to change. If only I had like a contact at YouTube, right? To like, hey, fix this problem. Oh my gosh. But let me find my thingamabob. This is something that I learned from my therapist, so maybe this is something that'll be helpful for you all. And I kind of talked about it in my charity stream, but it's this process where you understand what part of yourself you're trying to change, and in this case, sort of that self-critical part of myself, if that makes sense. And then being able to recognize that part of yourself, that feeling, those moments, and that's already a hard part in and of itself, right? Being able to recognize those moments where you're like, oh wait, I'm overthinking, or oh wait, I'm being really self-critical. That already takes a lot of work, because if that's something you're used to, if that's like a cognitive pattern that you're used to, sometimes like you'll just do it without realizing it, or you'll just think it without realizing it. So being able to recognize it is already a big step. And if you've already gotten that step, that's already one step there. Yeah, one step closer to, change. That's good. And so being able to recognize those things and then being able to recall or understand how you react in those situations, and then the sort of the consequences of those reactions and how they might cause these issues to persist. And I'll give my example in a second. And then being able to think, what am I going to do differently in these moments? What am I going to do instead? Instead of the thing that I do, what can I do instead? Instead of being so self-critical, what can I say to myself? What can I do? And again, this part, what's my new plan? What am I going to do instead? That is also a huge thing. We talked earlier about like learning a new script. Like if you're an actor doing a stage performance and you spent your whole month learning a script and you can do it from memory and have muscle memory for it, having to learn a new script for the next show is gonna feel really tough, and you might accidentally, go back to doing what you did in your previous show. You might say a couple of lines or do something that you used to do. And that's kind of like how it is, trying to develop new ways of thinking or new patterns of behavior. Sometimes I'll catch myself, I overthought. But I don't give myself flack for that. I don't get mad at myself. It's like, well, I guess that's bound to happen, right? I'm so used to it. But I recognized it, and it didn't go on for too long, and that's a win, And then from there, like being able to understand maybe deeper parts of yourself or your history and how you were raised or how you're socialized that might have influenced that, and see how those deeper things might influence other ways that you think or other behaviors in your life. So the critical part, if anyone's comfortable, anyone else out there also self-critical? I know I used to be super, and again, I still sometimes catch myself doing that, but now it's a lot more natural for me to be like, hey, no, that's not the case. But yeah, I used to have this pattern of thinking where I'm right there with you. And again, it's like not something to be ashamed about, but it's like being able to recognize this is something about myself I want to fix so I can be a better version of myself, for myself, of course, but also for the people around you. But yeah, oh gosh, like I'd make a mistake or something, and I'd be like, like for example, maybe I'm recording and I'm having trouble recording something. I'm like, well, guess I don't know how to sing. I guess I'm a bad singer. Or like I have to do juries for my school. I have to do voice juries. Maybe I'll mess up a part that I didn't mess up before, and I'm just like, oh well, guess I'm not as good at singing as I thought I was, And it's like, how do those feelings? How do I react to those feelings, right? How do I react to those moments of like me making a mistake or what have you? And usually in the moment, I tend to lose focus and then I do worse. You know what I mean? And then I think about like how that reaction to those moments persists outside of just that experience, that one moment. if I continue that feeling of self-criticism, maybe it'll keep me, and I'm sure it has, it's kept me from trying new things or challenging myself or, challenging myself to like do things that could help me be better, right? Because that self-critical part of myself is like, oh, well, you can't do it. Or is afraid of making another mistake. Or, you know what I mean? But it's like, no, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I was going to spoil the next part of this thing. So yeah, being able to recognize like what my reactions are to the feelings that I have, how I think about those feelings in that moment, and how that persists into how I behave and the decisions that I make, and how it limits me in my life, And then the next hard part is, what's my new approach? And it's like, how do I I have to then stop myself. And again, this is like a pattern of thinking that's like automatic. So how do you like stop something that's automatic? It takes a lot of active thinking and work. So I put down in my little journal, my little self-journal, what's my new approach? I put, stopping to acknowledge helps me to reframe mindfulness. Ding, ding, ding. And again, that's a skill that takes time to develop. I want a water check. But yeah, being able to stop myself and think, no, you're not suddenly terrible at doing music or something, or you're not suddenly stupid or what have you. This is just what learning looks like. You make mistakes and you do better. Think about the bigger picture, right? Like maybe I'm feeling like I'm in a plateau because I'm hitting another milestone, and I have to challenge myself again, I have to bring new challenges that I'm obviously gonna mess up at and do badly at, but that's just a sign of growing. But again, that's not something I was used to doing automatically. My more, automatic thought was like, oh, self-critical, ooh. But yeah, once I sort of like been able to like have a more automatic thought of like, oh yeah, it's just learning. Once I was finally able to kind of get some headway on that, being able to dive deep into like, why is that the case? And is that affecting anything else in my life? So, quite the tangent, but I hope that answered your question. To the person who said, how do you better handle self-loathing? As a fellow person who also used to struggle with being self-critical. This was a tangent? Oh no, it wasn't. It felt like it though, because I was like, what was the question again? I think I answered it. What do you all think? You think I answered it? Oh my gosh. Oh goodness, wow. We talked about a lot. I would love to do more. I'm just getting really hungry. It's just about dinner time for me. So I'm gonna talk about, I think the only thing I have left is some of the concerns that folks have shared with me in this document. I asked the question, what are some concerns that you see in our community, like the VTuber community, anime community, gaming community, what have you? I know that's a lot of communities, but I guess specifically since we were at OffKai, I asked about VTuber community in terms of like digital wellness or social media addiction, gaming addiction, internet addiction, etc., what have you. And some of the things that were brought up, and I'm really interested in exploring because, I don't know, it's just like, this is the community that I've really come to, be a part of. Like, I think of myself as part of this community as well, and I want to see it be, to grow and to be happy. And I like to do what I can to give back, to a community that's given a lot to me. I get to do what I love. I get to make music. I get to share all of my excitement and my love for various games and anime and music. So, I want to be able to do more things like this where we talk about how we can be better in our own lives or better for each other. And yeah, whether it's in my content work as a VTuber or like in my studies, my professional studies as well, which also kind of carry over to my content work as well. So some of the things that folks brought up, that, I know we're running out of time, but maybe this will act as like a jumping off point or like a springboard to your thinking. Maybe this is something you want to think about your relationship with the internet, in what ways it's good, what strengths, it has, or maybe things that you could work on in your own relationship with the internet or digital media or social media, what have you. Somebody brought up one of their concerns, community concerns, I guess, was how interaction with others feels as an introvert. Feeling like you might say the wrong thing or give up after you think you made a mistake. And that's something I'd love to learn more about too. Like, I'd love to learn more about your experiences and how you think about the world and interacting with people, because I personally identify as an extrovert. This is also something that I worry about too. As an extrovert, I also worry that I might say the wrong thing sometimes, or I guess that's something I used to definitely, worry about, and I found ways to deal with that. So, at the end of the panel where we got to talk, it was so fulfilling being able to learn more about you all and what the world looks like from your eyes. I don't know. It's just it's one of the coolest parts of what I do, is to have that connection with so many people and so many different perspectives and lived experiences. So, yeah. I'd love to learn more about, what specifically you worry about, or how you feel that might be different from maybe someone who is more extroverted. Because me being an extrovert, a lot of how I think and how I behave is tinged with that bias. Does that make sense? A lot of how I think I go about the world and how there's a lot of unconscious things I do or say as someone who is an extrovert, right? And being able to see and understand how maybe an individual who isn't an extrovert sees the world and views the world, it really helps me recognize some of the more implicit things that I think about, but that I don't think about. Me when I ramble. Does that make sense? Am I rambling? Am I just making no sense at all whatsoever? Yeah. So, continuing on. I keep saying we're running low on time, and then I keep going on tangents. Let's see. Somebody mentioned that they worry that more people than expected are self-sufficient in real life. And I want to know more about that concern. In what ways do you have that worry? Is it more of a life skills thing, or socially, emotionally? I'm curious to learn more about that specific concern. Somebody brought up their concerns about gaming addiction, and an individual who filled out this form was also a parent, and they brought up how their daughter was mentioning that cyberbullying happens a lot in the VTuber community. Of course, in any other community it could happen too, but since we're talking about VTuber community. And so, she shared her daughter's perspectives and her experiences about that. And then some folks also talked about what are other ways that, we can gamify our lives and gamify the concept of self-improvement, or any other general advice or tips for self-improvement. So I guess my wrap-up question or takeaway thing here is, if you would like to see more panels like this, and if so, what topics would you want to see? I already brought up a couple that folks were interested in, so if any of those seem particularly interesting to you, put them in the comments section, because chat is harder to go back and check. So, if any of those topics or concerns that individuals put into the form seemed interesting to you, bring them up in the chat, or if there's a different topic of discussion or a concern that you would like to see more addressed in the VTuber community or talked about in the VTuber community, that would be really cool. I'd love to learn more about how you all perceive this community. I'm sure it's difficult for an introvert to come up to ask a question. That is a great point. See what I mean, though? See what I mean? How I have a lot of implicit bias as someone who is an extrovert, and a lot of how I do things and set up my systems and set up how I interact with the world or set up ways for people to interact with me are all based off of my perceptions of the world as an extrovert. You know what I mean? I don't actively think about how it can be very difficult to put yourself out there, to ask questions, to share your experiences. As someone who, again, is very extroverted and is very much an open book, you know what I mean? So yeah, being able to, for example, instead of saying, hey, ask in the chat what your questions are, being able to have a form like I had for the panel. If you have any thoughts you want to share, maybe you don't want to share it out loud, creating a space for people to do that, you know? That was the first time going up to any Q&A. I was so nervous. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that effort. Really, truly. I feel like every single person who came up, I learned so much from. And again, that's such an honor. It's one of my biggest honors as a streamer to be able to do stuff like that and connect with people and learn about their experiences. So, gosh. And again, like I said, learning about so many other people's experiences just opens up my mindset, and I get to that can help me find ways to connect to people in better ways and be able to include people and create a more welcome environment. Yeah. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed me rambling about my experience with OffKai. You can, of course, check out the VOD as well. This week, I know last week we didn't have any streams during the weekend, of course, because of OffKai. But this week's also a little light on streams because I need to do my monthly members streams as well. I haven't done those. Goodness, forgot. But I'm also playing Honkai Star Rail tomorrow, regular stream, and then I'm doing Xenogears this weekend as a regular stream. So if you wanna see what I'm up to, you can check those streams out. I also have been streaming Fire Emblem Three Houses pretty regularly. We're almost at the end there. I've also been streaming Trails in the Sky. What else? I've been working on Deltarune. And there's also a bunch of games that I'm wanting to put back into my cycle, like Persona. There's the new Until Then DLC I want to try out. So lots to look forward to. I'm also a musician as well. That's a huge part of my content work and advocacy work too. So check out not just my covers and fan songs, but also my original music as well. A lot of my originals that aren't fan songs have to do with almost like an emotional journal. I find a lot of catharsis in music writing, and I've been able to connect to a lot of people who've also had similar experiences or thoughts as well through my music. So that's something I take a lot of pride in. So, without further ado, I don't want to... Me being like, I'm so hungry, I should probably stop talking, but then I keep talking. So, thank you all so much. I hope you all had a wonderful time chatting with me. We don't get to do these very often, where we're just sitting and talking about this or that. We usually chat in the middle of gameplay, but I always appreciate it. I always feel so honored to do convention experiences. So if you want to see me at more conventions, by all means, please reach out to your convention organizers. Have them reach out to my management. I'm just happy to connect with you all, of course. So whatever you all are up to, we're gonna pick a raid here in a sec. I usually do that in my ending screen, but thank you all so much for being here. And as always, I'm the idol to give you the wings to fly, Cyber Angel Rita Kamishiro of Lucid Multimedia at your service. Bye! Alrighty, for YouTube, it looks like Leah's playing Cafe Crew Sim. I don't know what that's all about. Maybe you're running a coffee shop, but that's the first one that YouTube recommended to me, so we'll go ahead and rate into that. And then on the Twitch side, it looks like Valley is doing karaoke. Homework celebration, it says, so be sure to go cheer them on. That sounds fun. And I'll see ya when I see ya. Bye!